Hello, fun people. I'm Isaac Carlson, and on Following Dreams, I'm focused on exploring the stories of people who are following their passions and achieving their dreams. I want to help inspire you to pursue what you love by hearing how others have done it. Today I'm speaking to a man who has had a lifelong passion for all things Disney, which led to him to form his own Disney travel agency after a conversation with his friend in the Magic Kingdom. After creating his company called The Vacationeer, he built his business into a travel company with over 50 travel agents who are actively focused on creating magical trips to Disney parks, Universal parks, and Caribbean vacations. To check out what he's built, you can find a link to the Vacationeer website where you can begin to have your next vacation planned for you with no charges. And to work with my division of his travel company, Watso's Magical Vacations, to receive my personal touch when you craft your dream vacation, you can go to watsovacations.com. But before I help you book your next trip, let's begin our conversation with today's entrepreneurial guest. Welcome the owner of the Vacationeer, Jonathan de Araujo.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you. I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be here and happy to talk to you.
I'm super excited to talk to you as well. Like, we've had lots of conversations on the phone that have not been recorded or anything, but I thought you'd be someone with a very different point of view on Disney as a whole, and especially Disney vacations.
Absolutely. Happy to give you any insight I can provide. So go ahead.
The first question I have for you, Jonathan, is what are you passionate about? What gets you excited about what you do?
You know, it's funny. I feel like the things that I'm passionate about are very strange. But for me, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as someone who I guess, derives a lot of my own personal feeling about myself in kind of the successes of my business and things like that, the things that excite me, the things that make me the happiest, the things that really kind of fulfill me are things like, a week ago, I got an email, and totally unsolicited email from one of our guests that was working with one of our agents, and just saying, taking the time out of their day to say, this agent has been so great. He helped me with XYZ, he's been so responsive, he's had all the right answers. I mean, just because people are so quick to jump to say something negative when something goes wrong, but it's really hard. It's very uncommon for people to say something good like that, to go out of their way to do that. So, just really reading that and knowing that one of my agents, or many of my agents, have had a really great impact on people's lives and their vacations, and really, improved their trips, just makes me feel great. And it makes me want to wake up in the morning and do it more,
Yeah, that you're able to make a positive impact by the people that you bring on and the clients that you bring on. That's really awesome that that's the type of impact that you're creating. And that's definitely something that I strive to do as well, bring out that positivity out in the world, because I agree that the negativity is not what I want to be focusing on at all.
And spend any time online, and it's like all people want to do is be negative, So hearing stories like that, it's really fulfilling, and it makes me think, I made the right decision in deciding to create this business.
And how did you decide to get into doing Disney? Like, what was your background with Disney while you were growing up?
So when I was growing up, I was fortunate. My dad worked in the hotel business. So he worked for Sheraton, and we were lucky because, he could get free hotels anywhere whenever he wanted. So we would go to Disney World, I don't know how often, to be honest, maybe every 3 or 4 years or something like that, which I guess the more kind of Disney interested people I talk to, that actually seems like not a lot, but for me, I feel like that was a lot. And so I saw it a lot as a child. Epcot was something that I really connected with. Some of the technologies, some of the, specifically living with the land and the hydroponics and different methods of advanced growing techniques and that kind of thing were really kind of nerdy, exciting to me. So that was kind of the beginning, the formative years of where Disney came into my life.
I totally relate to getting excited about all of the different aspects of the science of Epcot. That was something that was really cool to me as someone who grew up that was interested in science and math. It was just such a cool playground to explore when I was growing up. So I totally relate with all of that.
Yeah.
So then when you got older, you had the background with the hotel and with Disney. What were you doing throughout school, and what were you doing in your career before you decided that the travel agency was what you wanted to make?
So for me, I have my degree. I have my MBA with a marketing concentration, and most of my career I've been in some type of marketing or sales. So way back in the day when I was in college, it was with Verizon. Then I moved on to a software company, and then briefly into a software company a couple of years. And then I got into real estate. And I got very kind of deep into real estate and real estate investing and fixing up houses and flipping houses and things like that. And, I just, as much as I enjoyed real estate, I felt like I'm from the Boston area. I felt like I was very kind of geographically tied to this area. And I really wanted something that gave me a little bit more flexibility for travel and that kind of thing, where I didn't feel like I had to be here every night, every weekend for open houses and showings and things like that. So I decided to, I guess I don't want to get ahead of your questions, but that was kind of, so it was very un-Disney related, put it that way. And then, kind of moving forward in time, I took, a good chunk of time where I didn't involve myself a lot in Disney parks and what was going on there. And I had a few friends one of whom was a Disney travel agent, that kind of brought me back into the fold, and we went to Disney World together, and I just really, it was everything I remembered and more, you know what I mean? I think I had, prior to that time, I had kind of this sense that a lot of people do, which is that, oh, Disney's for kids. That's not really someplace I'm going to vacation now. And I went back and my mind was just blown. All the different resorts, all the new rides, the new lands, the food. I mean, one of the biggest things that blew my mind was just how many great food options there are now. I couldn't believe it. I thought, hamburgers, chicken tenders, stuff like that. Oh no, there are so many great dining options there now. And that really kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities, and talking with my friend who was a Disney travel agent at the time, and just kind of discovering a market or a business model that I literally didn't know existed. So it was really eye-opening.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting to hear about someone who stepped away from it and then came back. I mean, I stepped away from Disney in the sense that when I became like a teenage boy, that I was kind of more embarrassed to talk about the movies and stuff like that. But you had a much larger shift, and that just sounds so cool to be able to come back as an adult and see everything come to life again. That's just such a interesting and cool perspective to have, and that it got you so excited. Because
go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, you keep going.
I was just going to say, I think that, it's sometimes it's just kind of as an entrepreneur or someone that's looking to kind of fulfill a goal or a dream or whatnot. I think for me, it was very much, I knew I wanted to own my own business. I knew I wanted to be my own boss kind of thing, right? I knew I wanted to have that freedom. But, I didn't know what avenue I was going to take. And for some people, I think it's, I have a goal that's around kind of a lifestyle. And then I think other people have a goal that's around a particular interest, like Disney or like a hobby or like, all kinds of different things. And you never know where that's going to take you, but you have to open yourself up to learning about things you don't know, because there's so much we don't know, and there's so many opportunities that we don't know about. And honestly, with the internet and YouTube and different things, it's so much easier to learn about so many great opportunities out there. I just think this is kind of a new era for entrepreneurship because people have so many. I mean, I think you're a perfect example because you're a YouTuber with a huge number of subscribers, and the business model that you're involved in with that is unheard of in history. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur, I think.
I absolutely agree. That I feel like if you're dissatisfied with something that you're doing and you have an interest that you want to pursue, in this day and age, there's some way to monetize the thing you really care about, as long as you go and search for it, as you've been saying.
I think so. I think there are so many more opportunities now I mean, obviously everyone's situation is different, and, there are people that, have to work several different jobs and just don't have time for that, kids and that type of thing. I'm at a point in my life where I don't have children, so that kind of, is one limiting factor that I don't have at the moment. But, I think that you have to make time for what's important to you, and you have to not live your life thinking what if, right? And it's harder for some people than others, obviously, and there are some people that are just motivated differently, and this type of thing, what you do, what I do, may not interest everyone. It definitely won't interest everyone, but I gather that the people that are probably listening to your podcast are the type that are kind of looking for what their YouTube channel is, if we're using you as an example, or what their travel agency is, if we're using me as an example. There are absolutely ways for everyone, I think, to follow their dreams and their passions and turn that into something. Because if you bring value to other people, you're going to receive value back in some way.
Because once you tap into something that other people aren't doing, and it's something that you really care about, it's able to come through and people are attracted to that. And I think that's something that we both have been able to do really well, is to get that passion out and do it the best way we can as we go through and learn it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, you don't have to be the world's biggest expert in anything to get started in anything that you're passionate about. People value authenticity. People value seeing people go through the process of learning, of growing pains, of struggling to make their business or their, you look at YouTubers and, I've never watched any of your earlier videos. I think I actually want to go back and watch some of your early videos, but I'm guessing they weren't great. And that's the thing. I mean, when I first started my travel agency, it was me and one other person, you know what I mean? And we weren't, we were nothing at that time. Things have changed obviously since then, but I think everyone has to start at zero for the most part, and just it's something that you look back on and you think, you know what, no matter how it worked out, I'm glad that I tried that. I'm glad that I put the effort into that and tried to make this thing that I'm really passionate about work, because it opens up so many other opportunities. This has opened up the opportunity for me to meet, content creators like yourself and others, that I never would have met otherwise. And, like-minded people and friends, and, it just opens you up to a whole new community.
And the thing I always thought about, especially after high school was done, was that I knew that I was going to have to work 40 hours a week doing something. I just wanted to do something that I actually really cared about, and that I was going to pursue the life I knew other people were already able to achieve. And so that's what really fueled me to want to pursue this once I started to get momentum doing this.
It's funny that you mentioned 40 hours a week, because that is such, for me, that is such this kind of fallacy that we teach people, because I work way more than 40 hours a week, right? But
Yeah, same.
for me, working 60, 70, 80 hours a week is so much easier than working 40 hours a week at a job in the city, in a cubicle, doing something on a computer that I don't want to do, that I don't feel like I'm connected with or rewarded properly for. I mean, when I wake up in the morning and I start working, I'm working for me. I'm growing something that I receive the benefit for, you know? And I have now, you know, many, many agents that benefit from that as well. And that's great, because I have just the greatest people that work for me. And it's just such a pleasure to talk to them and to interact with them and to know what's going on with them and what they're passionate about and what, you know, what their struggles are, and family and so on and so forth. But, you know, they say if you do what you love for work, you don't work a day in your life. I don't know if I agree with that. I definitely feel like I work, but I also feel like I'm not working to just primarily benefit someone else. You know what I mean? And that makes it feel very different to me.
I agree with you on that as well. There's definitely days where it feels like more work than other days, but at the same time, I agree with you that you're pushing yourself towards the life that you want to be leading and doing it in a positive way with something you care about. It's a completely different type of way to like work, and it's so exciting to be able to do that every day. So, tracking back, was it your idea initially to do the travel agency, and like who was the person that you brought on to start doing this with?
Yeah, I mean, so basically what happened was I had this friend that was a Disney travel agent, and he was working for me in my capacity as a real estate agent, basically. And I was very busy, and I had a lot of marketing tasks and things that I just wasn't really able to handle all on my own. So I had more or less an assistant. And every day he would come in and he'd talk about the Disney travel agent gig and how he was doing that part-time and how he wanted to do it full-time and what was going well and what wasn't going well and how certain things were difficult and how his agency wasn't, you know, maybe supporting him in the way that he was looking for. And so I just, you know, started researching it. And, you know, as a real estate type person in the Northeast, we don't do a lot in the winter. We kind of work on marketing projects and things like that, but we're not selling a lot of real estate. We're not showing a lot of houses. We're not doing that type of thing. So, you know, I took that time and I said, let me research this. Let me spend more time getting to know more about the business. What I learned was I felt like there was an opportunity for an agency to come in and really focus on the customer experience, the customer service, to really market themselves well on the internet, you know, in 2019 or well, I guess it wasn't 2019 then. But, you know, a lot of the agencies that were kind of the bigger agencies had been around for a long time. Their marketing seemed to be a little bit stagnant. I mean, it was, you know, they kind of had their past clients and referral business and stuff like that, and that keeps them going, and that's great. But I just thought there's a lot more opportunity out there now that the internet has grown to what it is. And I thought we could really succeed.
Oh, okay. So you saw the opportunity. What was the first action you took? Like what do you have to do to become like a travel agent?
Yeah, good question. So I did a lot of research. I did a lot of Googling, basically. And actually, surprisingly, there's very little information about how to start a travel agency, specifically a Disney travel agency out there. So, you know, I basically just did it. I just decided I was going to do it, and I started sending in applications to, we're a member of CLIA, which is the Cruise Line International Association, which is one of the major industry groups. and you have to be established with one of the major industry groups in order to have a travel agency relationship with vendors like Disney and Universal and all the other vendors that we work with. So, I made some phone calls. I sent in applications. I looked into what was involved, what we needed, and just got the ball rolling that way. Created a website, reached out to different people and just tried to make connections. And, at the beginning, frankly, I didn't know what I was doing, but over the years, you ask a lot of questions, you get a lot of answers, and you learn and you become an expert in something. And I think people are oftentimes put off by the idea that, I feel like I need to be an expert before I get involved in this. And, especially with Disney travel, I've hired, dozens and dozens of agents that have no travel agency experience. Now, I have plenty of agents that have, decade or more travel agent experience, but I've hired many agents who have zero experience as a travel agent, except that they've been planning their own trips and their family's trips and their friends' Disney trips for decades. So, they know all the fast passes that you should be getting. They know what dining reservations you need to get, when you need to book, what resorts are the best for, big families or small families or families with kids or families without kids. There are so many options. And the people that are really passionate about Disney and traveling there, they have the best advice for people that haven't been before or don't know when to book fast passes or which fast passes are the hardest to get. So those people are a perfect match for this job. They just need to learn a little bit of kind of the back end of how the travel agency works and the forms and the online systems and that type of thing, which is easy for people to learn. The stuff that they have from their years of experience with Disney, that's the hard thing to teach.
And so that's the thing that most travel agents that you take on need help with, is the managing clients and dealing with that type of thing and filling out the correct forms. It's all the back end. That's really interesting.
Definitely.
But
yeah.
I guess that makes a lot of sense.
I've never hired an agent that needed any help with, anything around Disney World, how to book a trip, where to stay, fast pass selection, anything like that. All of my agents come to me with a breadth of knowledge so large that, quite frankly, they all know more than I do, In fact, every time I plan one of my own Disney trips, I think, I'm going to call one of my agents and just get a little bit of advice because they're just most of the agents that I've hired go to Disney World multiple times a year. Some of them go every month. Some of them go every week. They're just so knowledgeable on it. And, teaching somebody how to log into a particular website and book certain dates and whatnot. I mean, it's all, anyone who's booked, on Expedia or Kayak or something like that can navigate kind of most of the websites that the booking engines that we deal with. So, in this business, you really come into it with that base of knowledge, and people come to us, hopefully for that very reason, because they're thinking, I'm really interested in Disney World, but I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I don't know where to eat. I don't know what I need to book. I don't know how to plan. I've just read online that there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm trying to find someone that can help, and we're here to help.
Exactly. And I even find that it can be overwhelming as someone who's been many times myself, is that like going on certain YouTube channels and seeing that they literally have hundreds of videos all about like specific resorts and food, it becomes very difficult to seem like it's easy to make a good decision at the parks. And so I definitely see value in someone walking someone through on how to make those decisions and what they want. Because especially if you've never been. It can seem just way too overwhelming.
Oh, honestly, I cannot imagine going to Disney World nowadays having never been. I just can't fathom that experience because it's just so much. There's so much, and you can't barely scratch the surface of all the options, especially if you're a foodie, if you're interested in sampling a lot of different cuisines and things like that. I mean, there are just so many options.
Well, and then all of the seasonal events that go on, there's all the limited time merchandise. There's just so many things for different types of people. So trying to get a grasp around that, it's just a lot to deal with. But luckily there's people out there that are able to grapple it for other people.
And they enjoy it. That's the thing. They live for this stuff. You know, they love to talk about Disney World, about Disneyland, about Disney cruises, about their experience, about, their recommendations. They love the idea, if you go to Disney World without properly planning, without fast passes, without dining reservations, you're going to spend a lot of time in line. And I hate to say it, but you're probably not going to have a great experience. And, the idea that you as an agent can take your experience and translate that into changing someone's vacation from something that likely would have been kind of a bummer to something that was really a great, memorable experience, that's really fulfilling and great. And by the way, they get paid for it too. So, that's always nice.
Yeah, because if you're sending someone to a place that you really care about, you want them to have the same type of experience, but it can easily become like a place where it just feels like a pat arena of people that are all wanting to just see the same princesses, which makes sense if you go to meals at mealtime and you don't have fast passes, but you expect to go on Space Mountain at like 3:00. Like it can, you can understand how it becomes just too much. But I've got a question for you about like planning vacations in the future, because Walt Disney World is implementing the Genie program in the next few years. Are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, so what it is they're going to like algorithmically plan people's trips, that they're going to be able to use this online resource.
I think I have heard about this. I didn't realize it was called the Genie Program though.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast earlier today talking about, this as well as kind of the automated kind of photo pass photographers, that the photo box kind of thing that they're doing now. And I get why Disney's doing it, right? They want to have fewer paid employees, right? Fewer cast members. It saves them cost, right? It saves them operating costs. But, I feel like one of the biggest draws, one of the greatest things about Disney World is the cast member experience. And one of the things that I've always told people is that as a travel agent, when you call in and you talk to one of the cast members at the Disney Reservation Center or Disney Guest Services or interact with them at the hotel, it's amazing what a positive experience it is as compared to call your gas company or your electric company or, God forbid, your cell phone company and tell me you had a good experience. The cast, the interaction between the cast member and the guest is 50% of what Disney is offering. Yeah, the rides are a huge factor. Yeah, the food is a huge factor. But that experience, when you're walking around with a happy birthday button and people are telling you happy birthday as you walk by, that makes a difference. It really does. And I think that there are certain things in life that are going to be automated. It is what it is. It's factories have been doing it for years. More and more will be automated. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be tough to really optimize people's vacations without that human interaction. I certainly understand why they're doing it, but I think that it's really only appropriate in some cases.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And especially because it's difficult to explain what you want. Like, I don't know how they're going to be able to know exactly the types of things that you would want to do. Whereas I think you can at least have, like, you can have a conversation with a travel agent and they can give feedback to those ideas. And I think that's something that might get lost using that program.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, which would you prefer? Would you prefer to have a conversation with someone about what you're interested in and have kind of a back and forth discussion that will get you to the rides that are the highest priority for you, or should be, based on that conversation? Or do you just want to check off a few boxes on a website and click submit and then see what the system spits out for you? You know, I will say, kind of, you know, on the one hand, Disney's cast members are their greatest asset, and they're what really, I think, at the end of the day, bring people back. And when I say cast members, I mean, you know, everyone that you're interacting with, whether that be the PhotoPass photographer, whether that be, you know, the person that checks you in at your hotel, or whether that be your character meet and greet, you know, with Belle or you know, Mickey or whomever. When it comes to technology, you know, Disney has not been the greatest when it comes to, you know, booking systems and, you know, new releases of new promotions. I mean, Disney's notorious when they release their free dining promotion, for example, for, you know, the system going down, right? At the end of the day, if your system's down, you better have some human beings backing it up, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I get why they do it. I think it's probably, you know, I think it's motivated by, you know, share price and you know, reducing costs, because maybe revenues aren't rising as fast as they want. You know, I know I was hearing recently that Galaxy's Edge was not nearly as busy as people were expecting. I think part of that is what time of year it is. Part of that is that one of the major rides isn't open yet. Part of that is that, you know, people were expecting it to be crazy busy and so didn't want to deal with that. But, you know, it's a bunch of factors, but at the end of the day, I think they were probably expecting more out of it than they got so far. But I think, you know, I think Galaxy's Edge will really age well. I think it will become more and more popular, more of like a cult classic kind of thing, almost like, you know, one of those cult classic movies, kind of like the Star Wars movies, right? I think people will be wanting to go to Galaxy's Edge for years and years and years. And I don't think people 10 years from now will look back to the opening and say, and care how busy it was at the opening, you know?
Yeah, I think that's something that happens with anything that gets put into the park. Once it's put into the park, it kind of develops its own identity, whether it's an IP or not, that it like becomes something to the people that actually experience it.
For sure. Yeah.
So now that we're about halfway through having this discussion with Jonathan, I think it'd be a great time to say that if you enjoy following dreams and want to see it grow, then definitely go tell someone before the next episode about what I'm making over here. If you think you know a friend or family member who might get some value from the people I talk to, then it would mean a lot if you shared following dreams with them. In addition, right now is also a great time to talk a little bit more about my own division of Jonathan's company. For the first time today, I'm announcing Watso's Magical Vacations, which is here to help you make the most of your Disney trips. If you'd like someone to assist you as you plan your next Disney vacation and want my partner Jaden and myself to book it all for you, definitely go and check out watsovacations.com and get your free quote today. From scheduling fast passes to getting your dining reservations to finding you the highest discounts available, we'll be able to do it all for you with no charge. So if you'd like to have your next Disney Parks vacation planned for you for absolutely free, then go head on over to watsovacations.com. That's WOTSO vacations.com. So You have all these great like travel agents that you've trained and grown up. What's the process like to ensure that they're ready to actually interact with guests? And how did you develop giving that to travel agents?
You know, so it's really hard to describe because it's very intangible. It's something that I can't put on paper. But, you know, when I interview someone, I'm looking not only for their knowledge and their experience with the product, because that's, first of all, everyone that I interview has vast knowledge and experience with the product. Otherwise, they don't get interviewed to begin with. But I'm having the conversation with them as if in my mind, I'm a customer. I'm a potential guest of the agency. So I'm thinking, you know, how does this person react to this type of question? Do they have, you know, are they good with people? Are they good on the phone? Are they, you know, are they personable? Are they funny? Are they, you know, are they going to make people feel comfortable to ask questions? And do they seem like they care about answering my question and caring about what I'm looking for? Or are they just kind of self-promotional and they're not really in tune with what I'm looking for or what I want, right? So I'm thinking, is this person someone that I want out there representing our agency and representing the Disney product and Universal and, you know, whatever we're working with at the time? So ultimately, I don't train people on that because you either have it or you don't. And I say that, and I might be wrong. I might be, because you can, you know, people can learn, right? But I guess I'm not a trainer in that kind of on that level. I'm looking for the people that already have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that they come with the point of view of someone who's positive and is willing to like frame this as a positive experience that's magical, that and frames it all well and is able to express that in a very customer friendly way. That makes a lot of sense.
I want them to come into it with that as kind of their natural state of being versus something that they need to learn and be cognizant of and kind of act. I want people that, because there are, see, this is the weird kind of thing about this business. You know, if you're hiring accountants, I doubt that you get people half as passionate as we get, right? I mean, people are so passionate about the Disney product. So I just want to make sure that they're passionate about listening, asking good questions, and really fulfilling the needs and goals of that customer, of that guest. So, you know, and that's either kind of a natural state for you or it isn't. And I don't, you know, I'll be the first person to say, I'm probably not a great agent. And that's why I'm not an agent. You know what I mean? But I think I'm good at figuring out who the good agents are and then hiring those people. And that's my role. You know, if people call me and they say, you know, I have my parents sometimes, they'll call me and they say, you know, we're thinking about Disney World, you know, what are your thoughts and whatnot? And I'll be the first person to say, let me call one of my agents and get advice on that, because I want to make sure that you guys have the best possible experience, you know? But at the same time, I've been so fortunate because I have these people that are just really passionate, really knowledgeable, really like wonderful people. I think Disney really brings out the best people. People that are passionate about Disney are really great people. For the most part. I very infrequently run into people that are really passionate Disney people that are just kind of jerks. I don't see that a lot. I guess you see that in forums and stuff like that online. I try to stay away from those, but I just have really great people, and I've just been very fortunate to, you know, to most of the people I talk to are really great.
I agree with that too, that like if it's people that all agree about an ideology that supports like following your dreams, being positive, I find it difficult to find people that agree with those things and don't actually live it. It seems like they are often one and the same, at least with the people, again, that I've interacted with that focus on caring about that aspect of the parks and the films and everything Disney.
And I think if you're focused on something that really brings positivity into your life, and you're spending a lot of time focusing on that, it's hard to focus on negative things because you're too busy focusing on things that are positive. So I think that's part of it too.
Especially with agents, is that they're willing to go down a more unconventional path. There's not like a business front head that you don't have to go to an office. You know, it's something a little bit out of the way, a little bit not as conventional. So they already have that like willingness to break out of the mold and pursue what they want. And it makes a lot of sense that they would be willing to dive into it at head first, you know, and go after it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it was interesting that you said that you didn't think that you would be a good agent. What do you think would hold you back from being a good agent?
Oh gosh. So first of all, probably just organization skills. Yeah, as far like if I had to coordinate, 30, 40 trips at a time for different people, and when I need to book fast passes for people, and when I need to have conversations with them about that, and when I need to book dining reservations, and when we need to talk about that, and my brain would explode. That's just not a skill set that I possess. And again, it's one of those things, I'm sure I could probably learn it if I tried hard enough, but I think that, I've kind of focused on what I'm good at, and I think I'm good at, finding people that are good at that, and finding people that are passionate and knowledgeable and putting them in a position to succeed, and helping them market themselves and grow their business and their kind of customer base. So that's my experience on the marketing side. And I think that, kind of helping other people with that is more what I'm good at. And rather than being, more, I don't know what the word is, maybe transactional or something where I'm managing a bunch of different things, juggling a bunch of balls in the air at the same time, and just kind of constantly juggling like that, which is what my agents are doing. They're just constantly, new people are coming in, people are traveling, they have to know, when they're traveling and when everything needs to be done, and they have to be on top of it all the time. And for me, I'm just not great at that.
Sure.
And part of it is just knowing what you're good at, And everyone's good at something, by the way. Everyone is good at something. So, and that's the beauty of humankind, is that, I was watching the Bill Gates documentary the other night on Netflix, and it's like, he is amazing. He's just brilliant. But then there's aspects of his personal life and things that he really drops the ball. And and it's just, he's not very good at that. And, most people aren't nearly as smart or capable as Bill Gates, right? But we're all good at something, and there are plenty of things that he's just terrible at, and there are plenty of things that I'm terrible at, and there are plenty of things that you're terrible at, but we're all good at something, right? And I think it's, a lot of life is just kind of figuring out what you're good at and then doing it.
And once you can find something that you do well and that you care about, then that's the perfect blend. Then you can get into the flow of things and finally find something that you can get excited about and do. So when you were going into this, starting the travel agency and starting to get agents, when was the tipping point where you decided that this was going to be something like real? And do you continue to do real estate, or is this the main thing you focus on?
So, do I continue to do real estate? I do a little bit. It's one of those things that, when a friend or family or past client comes to me and says that they're, interested in doing something in real estate, buying a home, selling a home, whatever, or an investment opportunity comes across, if it makes sense, I do it, kind of thing. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely been a while that I've known that the travel agency is the thing. I mean, it's my main business. It's what I spend most of my time on. It's my future. And when did I know that, or how did I know that? I guess, I think it's one of those things. I do my accounting once a month. So at the beginning of the month, I go through all of the bookings from the previous month, the people that have traveled, who have been paid by the vendor, a commission, which is how we're paid, the vendor. We have all the same pricing as if you go direct through Disney, but Disney will pay us a commission to help you because we're saving them paying a customer service person or a guest services person to help you. And so when those commission checks come in, I do all my accounting and I send my payments out to my agents. And I just kind of look at numbers. I look at my numbers once a month, and Disney sends me my numbers with them once a month. And I think, I don't know how long ago, honestly, I can't remember. But at some point I just said, this is everything I ever dreamed it would be and more, So this is it, and I'm always looking at marketing opportunities and connections with different industry people and content creators and different things like that. I know you and I have talked about that kind of stuff a lot. And, I really love the idea of creating new partnerships and creating content around Disney and this stuff that I really enjoy, and it also happens to be my business, So I think I don't remember when, but at some point I just kind of looked at our numbers coming up and I was like, this is more than I ever thought it would be. And I think I was cautious. I think for a long time I kind of tried to do everything because I would never, I always felt in the back of my mind, I think I get this from my mother. I always felt in the back of my mind like, maybe it won't work out, but it's definitely worked out.
That gets me like so excited listening to that. Like that's the total dream of like seeing everything that you were like hoping come to fruition, like actually work out. That just sounds like just such an amazing feeling to have come over you.
It's great. And it's funny, it's kind of a fleeting feeling for me just because of the way my brain works. Like I'll take a moment and I'll kind of acknowledge like, wow, we've had like a great success this previous month, and I'll look at numbers coming up and wow, things are really great. And then I'll kind of stop and I'll be like, okay, how can I do better? I'm never satisfied. And I think that's part of kind of the you might even say the pathology of an entrepreneur, which is just that like, we're never happy. We always know that we could do better and we could do more. And I think that's the great thing when you're working for yourself and you're creating something yourself, you never want to kind of get to a point. I've thought sometimes, well, when I get to a certain point, when I get to this level in sales or when I get to this level in income, do I kind of just stop and let it coast? I can't imagine doing that. I can't imagine just sitting back and just letting things go, because I feel like I would always look back, and it comes back to that original conversation we had, which was, I would always say, what if I continued to push and try to do more and try to create better content and try to create better relationships and try to deliver more value? What would have happened if I had done that? So I'd regret it if I didn't,
Some people don't understand, for example, that they don't understand how I'm able to continue to make Disney content every single week. Every single week, it feels like there's constantly more things to talk about. So it's just you have to, or at least while it continues to be exciting and fun and the thing you want to do, like I'm just going to keep on the tracks and see how far it goes. And that sounds like the same type of thought process with you, is that you just want to see how far and how big it can grow to. Now, I think that's a really exciting thing to navigate.
Yeah, it's kind of the unknown. It's like, what can I do? I'm in uncharted territory. I'm in space, I'm exploring. How much can I explore, right? It's just discovery, right? Discovering what you can do, what your fate is, maybe. It's really interesting.
And it's nice to know, especially, that you're doing something that's positively impacting other people. Because I just can't imagine doing something where people aren't getting excited about what I'm doing and that they aren't feeling like happy while experiencing whatever I'm creating. Like if that's not a universal feeling, I can't imagine choosing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I feel like most people are kind of in that situation. I feel like most people kind of go to work and they're like, yeah, I'm working towards something, but it's not really something I care about. And I mean, we live in a great country with so much opportunity, and just, the opportunity to work and pay your bills and maybe own a home and a car, whatever. I mean, is a great opportunity in and of itself, and most people in this world would love to have that, right? But I think there's kind of a next level where you have the opportunity to try to grow something that you really care about. And I think, for me down the road, my goal is to really be more involved in charitable and philanthropic type of activities. And you have to kind of, I feel like you have to kind of build your business to a certain level before you get to that point where you can really legitimately do that kind of thing. So that's kind of, you think about kind of your future and quote unquote legacy or whatever you want to leave behind, and that's definitely something that is in the back of my mind as I grow things.
You have to make sure that you're able to cover the things that you need to, so that you can continue to live and thrive before you can focus on everything else. But I agree, that's something that
Sure.
I'd like to be able to do at some point as well.
Absolutely.
Something related to kids and Disney in some way, which immediately makes me think of Make-A-Wish, but who knows?
That's one that always pops to mind for me as well. But there are a lot of organizations out there. There are a lot of need that goes unmet, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, and a lot of this, I think we've talked about kind of connecting with other people, whether it be content creators or other people that are in the kind of the Disney space, right? Business wise. I think, there are opportunities for us to kind of come together and do some really big, great things. So that's something that, I know you and I will talk about in the future. But I think you kind of you grow your way into that type of thing, and that's definitely something that I'd like to see and definitely be a part of.
I agree. Man, I think it'd just be so cool if there'd be just a easier way for all the Disney fans to come together. The fans as well. There's like the parks and D23 and things like that, but for the content creators and the people in the industry to be able to network and meet each other in a more formal way, I think that'd just be so cool.
And that may be something that we talk about in the future, and trying to reach out to as many content creators as we can, and try to put together some type of trip or meetup or whatever where we all get together and do some really interesting stuff, do some charitable stuff. I think that would be really cool. That's definitely something we should look into.
Oh, that'd be super cool. Now that I'm thinking about this, so you have all these big aspirations that you were able to build up, which is so exciting and definitely gets me excited as well. But was there ever a time where you thought you wouldn't be able to keep doing this? Or was there ever like a huge setback that really felt defeating while going on this journey to create the Vacationeer?
Honestly, for this business, the answer is no. I was very fortunate. This kind of took off like wildfire. I will say, in my real estate business back in the day, I definitely experienced that. So I absolutely get how a lot of entrepreneurs will experience that. They'll put a lot of effort into something and kind of feel like they're constantly hitting a wall over and over and over again. And, I think the toughest part of entrepreneurship is deciding, is this wall going to be here forever, or am I eventually going to break through it? And quite frankly, in my real estate business was very successful. Things went very well, but there was definitely a time where I thought, I'm never going to break through this wall. And I decided that I was going to quit. And I literally, within 6 months of deciding I was going to quit, I hadn't figured out what was next. So I just kind of continued to plod along and do it. And I broke through the wall in that next 6 months. So if I had just jumped on the first opportunity that came to me, I never would have built that business to where I did. So, I was fortunate with the travel agency. I didn't run into that, but I think the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship is when you hit that wall, how do you decide? How do you know, okay, if I keep pressing, I'm going to break through the wall? Or the wall is just going to be here forever and I'll never make it. It's just too hard. And in some cases, some people aren't going to make it. I mean, but there are other people that quit that would have made it. And the hardest thing is figuring out which one you are.
And those become extremely difficult situations to be in. But I'm glad that you were able to break through it and continue to be able to do what you were excited to do throughout the whole journey. And that kind of leads me into, what are you most proud of while working through and creating the Vacationeer?
Oh, definitely. No question. It's those emails that I talked about at the beginning. The people that email me and say, I don't know you, I've never met you, but I have been working with one of your agents and they have just, given us the greatest experience, and we just went on our trip and it was amazing and thank you so much. I mean, that is absolutely unequivocally what I am most proud of. I don't care how much money the business makes. That will always make me feel so proud. That being said, I think, connections that I made, friendships that I made, and projects that we're working on. We have a fundraising partnership promotion where, charitable organizations can partner with us, and if they promote us and send us any business, we give them a donation of 25% of the gross commissions that come in to us. So I'm pretty proud of that. That's been, it's fairly new, but it's been well received, and we have a bunch of organizations that have signed up. And so being able to take our business and create a win-win for charities and help them grow and raise money is something that I'm very proud of. But and I think also, the people that I've hired that were really looking for an opportunity, maybe they needed to work from home for some reason, because they had to take care of their kids, or they had, a medical condition or something and they couldn't go back to an office environment. And the opportunity that I've been able to give them to create an income, create a career for themselves, I think is really gratifying as well. So, I think there's a lot to look back on and say, this has been great in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, you've been able to make a large impact in a lot of people's lives, which is an incredible thing that you've been able to achieve. I'm so proud that I'm able to talk to you and listen to your story about how you're able to do this, because it's so interesting. And another kind of branching off that, you've been able to grow this business and impact so many people. What are the opportunities that have been able to come your way that have been surreal? Have you been able to go to the parks a lot more? What type of experiences have you been able to have from owning a company like this?
Well, okay, so the first thing is just I get to go to Disney World and it's work. And I get to say that I'm working, which is ridiculous, right? But so I recently went on a trip to Disney World as a training event, and they gave us a VIP tour, which I don't know if you're familiar with the VIP tours, but basically you have a guide and they take you and up to a total of 10 people around the park, and any ride you want, they'll drive you between parks. And they'll take you into either the Fast Pass line or a line that is even quicker than the Fast Pass line. So you basically have backstage entrance. You have backstage access to transportation, so a van that takes you around the different parks. And you see so much. You get to ride so many rides that I can't even remember how many rides per hour we did. But it was like unfathomable. We did 3 parks, and we did all of the toughest to get fast passes for those parks. I mean, just back to back to back. And that was a crazy experience. I mean, for me, as kind of just I consider myself a pretty average person, you know, I'm not like a celebrity or something. That seems like something that only celebrities and super rich people and you know, that type of thing get to do. So that was amazing. But, you know, honestly, just going there and knowing that, you know, I'm everything that I do, every photograph that I take, every video that I create at Disney World, which I am enjoying and is really kind of a vacation, is also growing my business, right? That's rare. And I think that's kind of surreal.
Everything lines up. And it's so exciting to be able to have that be like the life you live on a daily basis. And that's definitely one of the most surreal things for me on a day-to-day basis, is being able to do that. Now, I'm glad that you're able to experience that as well. I've had such a great time listening to you, but I just have one more question. What do you think is the number one piece of advice that you would tell listeners on how they should follow their dreams? What's the number one piece of advice?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think really just being open to possibilities and being open to learning about things you don't know about. Opportunities that are out there. I hear all the time, you know, is this opportunity oversaturated? Is this opportunity dead? Is it, you know, find something that you care about. It doesn't have to be your greatest passion of your life, but if it is, great. And open yourself up to different avenues of working within that or around that or associated with that. And, you know, try to look for an opportunity that, you know, where you can add value. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you're offering value to people, that value will return to you many times over. You just have to figure out how to deliver that value and the kind of mechanism and the structure of delivering that value. And you will be rewarded for it.
Great advice. I completely agree with that. That was very eloquently spoken, and I totally support that. I think you just have to be open to hearing about different ways of following the thing that you actually care about.
Yeah, and don't be scared if you don't know how to do it, because I didn't know how to do it. I would imagine you didn't know how to do it when you first started. None of us know how to do it when we start. You don't have to know how to do it. You'll learn. You'll figure it out. You know, whatever it is, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, and even once you're at a point where people think you know how to do it, I still don't feel like I'm like an expert editor, like that I could charge people to edit their videos. It seems like
I would not book someone's Disney trip for them. I would be mortified to book someone's Disney trip for them. I would say, no, I will not do a good job. Speak to one of my agents. I learn something new about it every day. And there's just so much you will learn, but learning is great. And every day you become a little bit better.
It's just a journey that you have to be willing to step onto.
Absolutely. And you can't be scared. You just have to. Well, you can be a little scared, but you can't let it stop you. Don't let the fear of not knowing enough or embarrassing yourself, don't let that stop you. Because, you know, if you let the fear of being embarrassed stop you, you never would have created your first video, right?
I completely agree. Well, with that positive note of continuing to push forward and follow whatever your dream is, thank you so much for coming out of the podcast, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always great to talk to you.
It's a pleasure for me to be able to talk to you about what you do and everything to do with the Vacationeer. I think it's fascinating to hear about like travel agencies and that whole side of going on Disney vacations. To all of you who are listening, if you'd like to work with Jonathan's travel agents on a future magical trip for you or your family, you can find links to the Vacationeer in the description. And if you enjoyed this discussion, let me know by rating the podcast and subscribing. Also, it would mean a lot if you'd follow me over on Instagram at WatsoVideos and considered supporting this show by supporting me over on Patreon, which will also be linked below. To all of you fun people who are out in the world, thanks for listening and have a magical day.